Okay, part 3 of Seminole clothing. I'm going to talk about the coats, some of the changes and styles. The best image of a Seminole coat is from the 1830s, one of the McKinney Hall paintings, Chief John Hicks, Tokosi Amathila. A beautiful coat with some applique on the back, on the bottom. You see some fringes. Most people are familiar with Osceola, his long coat that he's wearing. And here's a sketch from the 1838 by an army officer, and we see the Seminoles in a dance. They're wearing various different styles of coats, probably Miccosukee Indians. And this next image is Ngozi Hajo from a newspaper sketch in 1858 when he is being removed out west. Looks like some applique on the bottom of his coat. Here's some original Seminole coats. This one I think was in Museum of Florida Natural History in Gainesville. Interesting triangle cape. And this, you see more of the triangle capes. This is in a German museum, the Museum for Volkskunde in Berlin. It's not on display, but it's a magnificent coat in the collection. And it has a second coat with the collection too. And both of these coats were collected in 1840. This one has an unusual kind of a round and triangle cape combination. A spectacular example of coats from back then. We think the Seminoles copied their coats off of the huntsman's frock coat. This reproduction I used for the reenactments, Revolutionary War frock coat. Here you see the back, it has a round cape. And here we have a reproduction of coat. This was made by a Muskogee Creek gentleman. You have the round cape, different colors, kind of little oranges, kind of highlights it. And that's the same as the huntsman's frock coat. And here's a reproduction that I made using imported material from England, which they would have used back in the early 19th century, a gaudy, glaring type of coat. And this was one of my favorites too. The reenactors like to joke about the bright material. This reproduction coat I made for the Seminole Tribe Atafaki Museum. It's on display. I made a couple of coats for them. And I've made some reproductions from some coats in museums. And this is a reproduction I made from a coat in the Museum, Smithsonian Museum of Native American Indians in Washington. It's kind of unusual because the cape is a triangle cape, but it's a different color than the rest of the body material. And here's a kind of a reproduction from one of the German coats. And this is one of the most complicated ones I ever made. Took me quite a while. It's a bit frustrating doing, but interesting. This is a plainer reproduction. This is one of my earlier ones. Has a big triangle cape. Kind of some speculation that maybe the Miccosukee were more prone to have the triangle cape or the Upper Creeks. Here's another reproduction. It's a blue canvas material, has some fringe on the bottom and on the cape and up the tail slit. I always try to use natural material, natural fibers, and these are some modern fabrics I've collected to sew into coats. It's really tough trying to match the antique fabrics they had in the 18th, 19th century. This reproduction coat I've done, this one I made for myself. I'm really proud of this one. Fancy design with some applique. And I wanted to make myself a good coat, so this is it. And next coat I made for the Boy Scouts for Tipasaw Lodge, 326 Order of the Arrow in Orlando. Has some applique, some red teepee on the bottom, and that's kind of their lodge totem. I really like this one too. It probably looks neat in the firelight. I made a number of coats for them. And this next coat is one I made that I'm not going to say who wears it right now, but I made it for the Seminole tribe. They had commissioned me to do this. And this is a coat that's actually seen by a lot of people. It's probably been seen by millions of people in the country. And I'll just leave it to you to guess where it's at. Thank you. I got one more video I'm going to make in some of the Seminole patchwork.